It's very difficult to know where to begin to speak my truth of my story, particularly the seemingly paranormal parts. However, I'm going to do my best to describe some of my experiences here in this video. If you have stories that you would like to tell, please feel free to reach out to us in the comments, and we will do our best to help you get your story out as well. One of the first experiences that's ingrained in my mind is something I'm sure you all have heard of before: sleep paralysis. Without getting into the debate of what that may be, let me tell you about some of my sleep paralysis experiences. Many of them were the typical frozen in fear, tingling sensations, numbness, and unable to move my body. My eyes are open, seemingly seeing my bedroom, and I had the feeling of shock. Sometimes I would feel chest or head pressure, and then I would wake up. I would gasp for air and then realize that I'm still in my home and that everything will be okay soon. Sometimes I would even run to my parents' room and sleep in their bed. There was another wild experience when I was a bit older, 17 or 18 years old. I was sleeping on the floor because my friend was sleeping on my bed next to me, and all I remember is that I was looking into my bedroom, but there was a thin, translucent layer of another location in front of me, and in that layer, I was in the back seat of a vehicle. There were two people, human I think, sitting in the front seats of the vehicle. They were talking, but I couldn't really understand what was happening because I was seeing my bedroom, my friend, and these individuals in the vehicle. When I was able to finally make out what they were saying, they were whispering, "Shh, I think she can see us." Then I gasped for air and the translucent film location vanished, evanesced, disappeared into nothing like vapor, quite literally. I began to scream for my friend and tried to explain to her what happened, as she reassured me that it would be okay and to go back to sleep. So I lie down in bed and reflected on what happened. Needless to say, I did not sleep that night. But it was always a curiosity of what that meant, or where was that somewhere else in that translucent film layer? Was I dreaming awake? What was happening? Were those people real? Had another instance of sleep paralysis too, many years later. I'm not really sure where it lines up on this linear timeline, but I recall being in the same similar state, except I couldn't see anything at all. It was just blackness, or void, or almost like I was blindfolded. I was laying on my stomach, or maybe not, but I felt like I was facing down for some reason. I heard a buzzing sound, really loud and disorienting. I was frightened. I saw in my mind a dragonfly, just to think of something that was less scary that would be making that buzzing sound, as I'm terrified of so many different flying bugs. I felt suddenly a sharp pain in my shoulder. It was intense, and I'm not really sure what that was. There was not much else to report about that encounter. I was laying in my bed alone and ran to my family's room to see if they were awake, but they were sleeping. So I took a hot shower to relax, then went to sleep. One of my first experiences with what I believe was an out-of-body experience was when I was experimenting with adult activities with a romantic relationship partner, if you know what I mean. I had my eyes closed. I began to tingle and vibrate all over my body, and suddenly I felt numb in my arms and my face. Then I looked down and I saw myself and my partner still engaged. Soon thereafter, I jolted back into my physical body and gasped forward at my partner so I could tell them what was happening, to simply try to articulate what had just happened to me. Just a few accounts that I wanted to speak on. There are so many more. Where to even begin to start the next segment? Some of my experiences are quite frightening or even dark, and some of them are beautiful and full of light. I know deep inside that these experiences give me meaning and purpose. This exploration gives me hope for understanding and openness to more experiences. It feels like exploring these experiences are part of my calling. I've had several premonitions that have unfolded and happened in front of my face. I believe I have prevented some bad things from happening. But typically the visions just happen anyways, and I just sit and observe in shock. I'm starting to get more comfortable with these things, but sometimes I fall off and lose my way, just like many other people do sometimes. Sometimes it gets really dark. There is some darkness that I enjoy and makes me happy. The things that don't hurt people and just are fun and spooky, like movies and art, for example. Most of the time, though, I love to have fun and create things or enjoy time with my friends. One of the most moving experiences of my life, that I still don't know for sure what to make of it, is when I levitated and exploded euphoric light from my body. Let me tell you how this started to the best of my ability. I was having an argument with a partner, or more so, a disagreement. I remember we walked away from the disagreement, and I was in the bedroom on the edge of the bed in a prayer position, not really sure what I was doing, but I was just crying and pleading without saying anything. Suddenly, I began to vibrate and tingle everywhere. That seems to be a common component to these experiences for me anyways. I started to feel sleepy, which was unusual because I was wide awake prior to the tingles. I started to feel someone or something. It felt as though there was something asking, "Can I make love to you?" I believe I telepathically responded with yes. I don't know. It just happened so fast but so slow at the same time. I started to feel my body being carried into my bed, my head placed in my pillow, as if I was going to go to sleep. It felt like I was floating, like somebody was carrying me, sort of. But I felt my body be lifted off of the bed, and the only thing touching was maybe the bottom of my heels. Suddenly, I felt light. That's the only way to describe it. I felt this light shoot through my body, first through my head, my throat, my chest, my stomach, my genitals, and my feet. It was the most euphoric, amazing, loving feeling that I had ever experienced. And then my body was slowly set back down onto the bed. I was wide awake again, in a state of peace, but also a little bit confused. But I felt loved. I felt special in that moment. I felt seen. I felt like I was a part of something bigger once more. I want to tell you more of my experiences, but I feel like I may have to save those for another video. Thank you for allowing me the space to speak my truth, and I hope it inspires you to do the same and speak your story.